I had a question by email asking me what the active self-help approach is and why it's different from the things that other people do. Well, it's dead simple really. I guess most complex things are simple. Basically, active self-help. The first thing we need to do is to figure out what the problem is. Now, you might say, well, I'm depressed or I'm anxious. Yeah, okay, fair enough, that's your experience. That's not the problem. That's the consequence of the problem. You see, depression and anxiety are outcomes. Well, okay, you say, what kind of outcomes? Well, outcomes from what? Well, they're outcomes from the processes that you're running, and those processes create the depression and anxiety. So, for instance, if you're depressed, you're underestimating your strengths and resources, you're overestimating your faults and feelings, you're looking back, see my video about that, and you're kind of judging yourself as a failing person. Well, that's not likely to be true. In fact, I've treated hundreds and hundreds of people with depression, and if you change your opinion about yourself over the course of treatment, then the previous opinion you held, the one that makes you feel depressed, obviously isn't accurate. It's just a biased interpretation. So the first thing we do is we figure out what the problem is. Now, you run neural programs and processes inside your head, and these neural programs and processes are basically the programs that give you the outcomes. So we figure out what the programs are, we create a roadmap. Let's say we say, okay, you have a tendency to worry, you're anxious, depressed, doing negative thinking, maybe faulty thinking, low self-esteem. These are all programs. They're belief systems that run, that give you the outcome you have. The second thing is we have to follow a path, a well-worn, a well-trodden path to be able to turn off these processes, change them, modify them. I mean, they're the same processes everybody has, but if you're depressed or anxious, their volume is massively turned up. We turn them down, we eradicate them, and basically that's using the tools of active self-help. And the third thing is, and this is a thing that a lot of people fail to do when they're just using general self-help, is that you have to keep at it long enough to make a difference, and you have to keep at it long enough to extinguish these neuro programs and processes. Because, okay, reading a book is fine, you might get some insight, but you're not going to persist with the tools in a book because it's a bit too dry. That's why I learned years ago that interactive stuff's really the best, and video and using my tools is really pretty interactive, because when you watch my videos, I will explain something, I'll say why this is the problem, I'll say this is what we're going to do about it, and I'll allocate you typically a homework that will take you long enough to be able to do something constructive and meaningful about it. So the third thing of active self-help is you have to persist long enough until you achieve the outcome that you want. Now, no one is more interested in your mental health than you, or at least that should be the case. If it's not the case, probably should change that, right? And if you don't have good mental health, if you feel anxious or depressed, you're not having the life experience you could have. You're just not, right? And this is a spring day. It's not a spring day, actually. It feels like a spring day. It's actually a lovely day to be out. It's not too windy, and it's, there's heat in the sun. So it's a lovely day to be out. But if you're depressed, you're not going to be able to enjoy it to the fullest extent. And if you're anxious, you might just feel, I couldn't be out in a big field like this. Okay, so depression and anxiety and panic and stress, they limit your life experience. This is the life that you have. So you better, really it's your responsibility to do a good job of enjoying it. I would generally say, try to enjoy your life. I mean, why wouldn't you? And if you're depressed or anxious, well, do something about it. Don't allow these things to persist for longer than they need to, and eradicate them. As a general principle, mental health problems are not necessary accompaniments to your life. They are outcomes of the neural programs and processes that you're running. You get stuck in the outcome, you get lost in the outcome. And if that doesn't make sense to you, watch my video about you are not the problem, but you have a problem. Because once you start to recognize that you simply have a problem of depression or a problem of anxiety, well then you can use tools and resources that I've developed to get out of your life, to change it, right? You don't have to stay where you are. But if you don't use active self-help, and if you accept that depression and anxiety are just things that I have in my life, well, nothing's going to change, because you're accepting less of a life than you could have. So I'm out in a big field near where I live, and I'm just having a little bit of sunshine, and I'm answering the question of what is active self-help. Well, in a nutshell, it's using the tools that you can use to help yourself out of anxiety and depression. It really works. I've tested it in clinical trials with the NHS and with my programs Blues Be Gone, Mood Control, Panic Pit Stop, and now Anxiety Wizard. So basically, it's a well-worn, well-trodden path that thousands of people have used, and if you want to get anxiety and panic and stress and depression out of your life, use it and see how far you can go. Thanks for the question, and thanks for taking the time to listen to the answer.